Hello guys, this is the Gaming Revolution here and welcome back to an all new Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War Zombies video, and boy do I have an exciting video today. This video is extremely long, so make sure you check the timestamps in the description to see where I discuss each topic, because I think I have figured out how the zombie storyline is going to head within the future and also how it's going to tie into Warzone and Call of Duty 2021. Everything is starting to intertwine and connect nicely now, setting up for the future thanks to Warzone being the connective tissue tying everything together. Sit back, grab the popcorn, because we have a lot of lore to discuss. So today, with the release of Season 2, we have gotten a bunch of new intel added to the game that seemingly reveals that the location of the next Zombies map will in fact be Berlin, that will apparently be featuring Kino Der Toten as a part of it. And we have been expecting this map for quite some time due to it being located on Gregory Weaver's computer screen. We even have our very first images of the map, which is very exciting, that I will come on to later on in this video. But now for the exciting information. So we have this first piece of intel from Maya to Weaver informing Requiem that Omega agents and Omega's psychotronic research lead, Dr. Alexandra Valentina, was observed scouting West Berlin for an unknown goal after the events of Firebase Z.
This is Heinrich Meyer, Station Chief, Berlin. Office of Requiem. Weaver, we have a developing situation over here. Reliable human places Dr. Alexandra Valentina of KGB Spetsnaz Omega Group here in West Berlin. She was observed scouting several locations in the city. Objective unknown. This is very distressing, to say the least. Dr. Valentina is directly involved with Omega's interdimensional research. If she is here expecting or intending for something to happen... Weaver, we have been very fortunate so far that most of Omega's operations have been in remote, rural areas. Berlin, on the other hand, is the focal point of the Cold War. The world is always watching us. If they were to launch an op here, I have a team trying to intercept her communications. I will alert you should they succeed.
Is this everything? Surely there is more.
I assure you, Dr. Valentina, this is everything.
Research on membrane permutations? What about the particle distortion modules?
Everything you need on targeted dimensional breaching is there.
Отлично. Have it delivered to this address.
You're not taking it with you?
Is there a problem with my order?
No, I just thought...
Thinking is a dangerous thing, is it not, comrade? Have it delivered to the address. Make sure you are not discovered by Peck.
Believe me, he is half of the reason I am doing this.
And the other half?
Why, for the good of the motherland, of course.
Of course. For the motherland.
As you guys know, we do have a CIA safe house located in Berlin, and since Requiem are backed by the CIA, I would reckon that their headquarters are similarly located in Berlin, potentially even the same spot as the CIA safe house. We then have this document from Maya to Weaver of a transcription between Valentina and an unknown contact speaking in German. Regarding Omega Group, it says, "Sir, I am writing to alert you that we recently intercepted communications between Dr. Alexandra Valentina of the KGB's Omega Group and a suspected operative here in West Berlin. We have done our best to track her movements and activities since she arrived in East Berlin last week. While we are still trying to determine the precise purpose of her visit, the contents of this intercept support our suspicion that Omega is setting up a major operation here in the US-occupied sector of the city." The transcription reads, Valentina says, "Need an update on site. The unknown contact says, readings confirm membrane permeable. Has date been determined? Valentina says, that is not up to me. Just keep your people ready to mobilize. The unknown contact says, acknowledged. However, some starting to question if this is even possible. Valentina says, eliminate the doubters. No margin for error. Ground must be prepared. The unknown contact says, understood. We'll make an example of them. Valentina then says, good, but do so quietly. Do not lose the element of surprise. And then Heinrich Meyer says, we are currently working to identify Valentina's contact, but cannot match with any known Omega or KGB asset. I will keep you advised of our progress. And I have to assume that Valentina's unknown contact in Berlin is in fact this unknown character that was seen spying on Samantha Maxis in Die Maschina's intro that similarly takes place in Berlin. And I'll talk about that more later in this video. So Valentina has been involved in research at the Ural Mountains and has been trying to harness targeted dimensional breaching, membrane permutations, and particle distortion. It seems like the Dark Aether breach that will inevitably be breaking out in Berlin won't be that of an accident or by random, but with this learned technology, she is going to intentionally cause a breach to occur there. And considering Requiem's headquarters are located here, it makes sense for her to hit them where it hurts, and like Maya describes in the first audio transcript, so far Omega's activities have been in remote rural areas, so they have been able to hide these events from the world. However, if this happens at Berlin, all eyes will be on it, as it is the focal point of the Cold War. So I don't know how on earth they're somehow going to cover this up from the world knowing about the zombies. So it seems like Valentina has been up to no good, and it seems like she is betraying and playing Omega. Kravchenko has been trying to hunt a mole and went so far as to gouge out Peck's eye to prove his loyalty. We know that Ravenov went against Omega, but honestly, maybe we have interpreted this incorrectly, and maybe they already know of Ravenov, but in fact there may be another mole. It seems like Valentina is working for the Germans to resurrect some sort of lost Nazis trapped within the Dark Aether, and that is what her secret agenda is. Unless that is Omega's agenda as well, but I don't think so, considering she is contacting this unknown person in Berlin who is not a member of Omega. It seems like she is going behind Omega's back. I think that this was the true goal of Project Endstation during World War II. It was to send this secret batch of Nazis into the Dark Aether. The Germans knew that they were going to be defeated, and so sent an army of the Nazis into the Dark Aether to get a one-up in the war. We know that time works differently within the Dark Aether, so if sent in there decades earlier, that could potentially be hundreds, maybe even thousands of years within the Dark Aether, and this would give the Nazis a massive one-up on the war because no one would see this coming. They would have so much time to prepare within the Dark Aether, and we have this cipher from Die Maschina that reads, inform the Chancellor that preparations have been made to open the third front. Endstation is ready to receive the package as soon as it can be assembled and transported. We are honoured to help facilitate the Reichstag's plan, coming from V. So this appears to be coming from Vogel, aka V, and the third front is likely referring to the Dark Aether. World War II was a battle between East and West, and well, the Germans decided to take a completely different route, and they went in a third opposite direction that no one could have expected. We then have this audio log between Vogel and Kurtz.
Vogel, 16th of March, 1944. We have finally isolated an unknown element in the men who were transformed by the cyclotron accident. And even at this early stage, it is clearly a remarkable substance. For now, we have classified it as Exo-Element 1. Kurtz suggested Vogelium. Such an ass-kisser. The current theory is that at sufficient concentrations, Exo-Element 1 triggers the horrific transformations experienced by the men closest to the cyclotron rift. I am currently designing a chamber to withdraw Exo-Element 1 from the occupant. My hope is to somehow purify the men and reverse their necrotic condition. If we can learn to control the necrotization process, I believe it could be weaponized. Imagine an army of unkillable soldiers, even at this late point in the war, I may have found the key to saving the Reich. Dr. Kurtz, you have memorized the new orders, yes? Did you burn after reading?
Ja, Vogel. And I thought security was tight before the accident. Do you think we can actually accomplish what the Reichstag is asking for?
I would not have suggested it if I did not think it achievable. But let us guard against overconfidence. If we do not deliver, they will find someone who can. And I am not about to give up control of this discovery. All we need is to send through a few volunteers to measure the specific relativistic differential.
Volunteers? Would you take on such a task?
Mind your words, Dr. Kurtz. I would hate for someone to question your commitment.
You are recording this.
What we do now will ensure the Chancellor's dream of a 1,000-year Reich. There must be a record.
So this was Hitler's plan, to preserve the Nazis. I guess it's an adaptation of the Germania conspiracy theory that there are still Nazis alive today. It's interesting though, because they would have corrupted and mutated within the Dark Aether, creating Nazi zombies and other monsters. So who is going to be controlling this army of the undead? That is what I want to know, because if they are creating this army of undead Nazis in the Dark Aether, there has to be someone commanding them. Germania was the projected renewal of the German capital Berlin during the Nazi period, as Hitler wanted to make it the capital of the world. So it would make sense for Valentina to unleash the undead Nazi hordes from the Dark Aether here. This would be the starting point in which they would plan to take over the world, as part of Hitler's New World Order. We have this cipher on Die Maschine, and when translated it reads, "Departure without further incident, all values stable, arrival in Germania. As discussed, whatever happens now, victory is certain for us." The reason as to why they say victory is certain for us, because the Nazis, as he said, were sent into the Dark Aether to return later, and they were confident that victory would be upon them. We have this document too, that is Dr. Vogel's entry 203, an entry torn from Dr. Vogel's personal diary, chronicling the incident and its aftermath. Johann Veron has taken great interest in Project Endstation's discovery. It reads, the 9th of March 1944, Dr. Ulrich Vogel. The last few days have been a blur, but I must record these events regardless of how preposterous they will seem. We activated the cyclotron at 10:03 PM 2 nights ago. I knew immediately Dr. Kurtz's modifications had gone too far. There was a sound like a high-pitched turbine crossed a human scream. Then it looked as if the air itself ripped open and the radiation alarm went off. I immediately tried to cut the cyclotron's power, but the machine continues humming along. Whatever energies were released, they had a profound effect on the men standing within 10 feet of the breach. They fell where they stood, only to rise again, moaning and screaming, their flesh necrotized. As they attacked the rest of the staff, I ordered the cyclotron chamber sealed. We have since captured our undead personnel and placed them under observation, but I have no idea why any of them are still conscious, since not one of them has a pulse or any ordinary life signs. While I help the medical staff try to find a way to reverse these men's condition, Dr. Kurtz has been studying the strange tear that manifested on the cyclotron. He posits that it is actually a hole in space-time and that another world can be glimpsed through it. Furthermore, there seems to be a strange relativistic discrepancy between us and this other dimension, the Dark Aether, for lack of a better term. We immediately reported all of this to our supervisors. Rather than a reprimand, Berlin responded with great interest, encouraging us to further study the space-time rift. This is now our top priority. Atomic weapons research is on the back burner. The thought that we have accessed a dimension where time passes at a different rate presents us with a remarkable tactical opportunity. The Führer himself understands the implications. He has taken a personal interest in Project Endstation, and that is one man I dare not disappoint. So yeah, this was the plan all along. As soon as the Germans discovered the Dark Aether and the fact that time runs slower within the Dark Aether, they immediately disbanded atomic research and instead began researching the Dark Aether. On Die Maschine, Requiem believed that the Nazis completely abandoned all of this ages ago. Well, the thing is, they actually sent Nazis into the Dark Aether to return at a later date. So it seems like, as he said, Valentina was actually behind the zombie outbreaks all along. She's been playing Omega and Requiem this entire time. We have this piece of intel regarding Operation Undertaker, which was an operation to reactivate the cyclotron at Moscow, Poland, aka Die Maschine, and she was the one responsible for activating it. We then have these pieces of intel that imply that Valentina, a redacted person, was the person who had access to these KGB documents about Project Endstation. She was the one who forwarded them to Omega and Kravchenko because she knew that they would approve them and reactivate the cyclotron. It would then lead to this arms race between Omega and Requiem. This entire time we've been thinking that Omega and Kravchenko are the bad guys of the storyline, but it seems like Valentina and the Nazis are the true antagonists and have been playing us all along. True espionage. She knew that by Omega reactivating the cyclotron, it would lead to a race to harness the Dark Aether's powers between America and the Russians, weakening the walls between the world and the Dark Aether, giving her the opportunity to free the Nazis. And I think that this is very reminiscent of the old Aether storyline, where the Apothecans sent Element 115 down to Earth in the hopes that they would use it to wage war against each other, ultimately leading to the Apothecans being freed from the Dark Aether. This is very similar. Valentina placed the ingredients needed for Requiem and Omega to race against each other and weaken the walls of the Dark Aether, giving her the opportunity to free the Nazis. And to prove that there are Nazis in the Dark Aether, we have a new piece of Dark Aether intel from Firebase C from one of the lost souls called Fedorov, and I will play it for you right now.
Fedorov, Omega Group. We have been reassigned from Ethereum mining duties. That task now falls to vermin, enemies of the state. But now they expect us to map the Dark Aether. That is what Pack calls this place. I would like to see him try to survey this madness. I have seen things out here. Unspeakable things. And today, push my... Usually, large groups of the infected are chaotic, mindless mobs, but today, I found hundreds of them strangely grouped. And their clothing... Were they uniforms? I dared not get too close, but they looked like... No. No, that cannot be right. It surely cannot be. This place, it plays tricks on you. I just need to get some sleep.
So yes, it's very obvious that he is referring to Nazis. He said he saw a large group of infected and their clothing were uniforms, and he said he dared not to get close because they looked like ... No, that cannot be, it surely cannot be. So yeah, it kind of implies that he saw Nazis within the Dark Aether. The Battle of Berlin was the last major battle in Europe during World War II, and ultimately led to the surrender of the German army, and also Hitler was thought to have committed suicide along with several of his officials. Well, I'm wondering if they're going to do a twist on this, because we thought that they had died, but what if, considering they sent a bunch of Nazis into the Dark Aether, what if they didn't actually die and they were sent into the Dark Aether? I don't think they are going to do this because it would be really controversial to see some sort of Hitler boss fight where he's mutated into some sort of giant zombie. I know way back in the day in World at War there was a bunch of speculation about seeing a Hitler boss zombie, and I really don't know if they would do that because it would probably be controversial for some and might be seen as being insensitive. But honestly, if we look through what is going on here in the storyline right now, it really is suggesting that this could be the case, especially since they are unleashing the Nazis from the Dark Aether in Berlin. That would be a huge plot twist if Hitler was actually sent into the Dark Aether and never killed himself. Because with this new knowledge, we now know that Hitler was certain and the Nazis were certain of victory, because they had one-upped everyone and were sent into the Dark Aether. so there wouldn't be any reason for him to commit suicide because the rest of the world has completely incorrectly interpreted the events of the war because only the Nazis were aware that they sent an army into the Dark Aether. And since it seems like all of this is based around these conspiracy theories that Hitler is somehow still alive and the Nazis are somehow still alive, then maybe there was a fake double agent like a lot of these conspiracy theories suggest that made the world believe that Hitler killed himself. This would make complete sense because although they sent the Nazis into the Dark Aether, the only way they would be able to get a one-up on them is to make the world think that it is over. So the rest of the world went on as normal, and meanwhile in the Dark Aether the Nazis were planning for hundreds, potentially thousands of years. This was all a big master plan. Call of Duty has been known to take conspiracy theories in the past and make them a reality within their games. For example, in Black Ops 1, they seem to suggest that Alex Mason was in fact the Kennedy assassin and the government pinned it on Harvey Oswald. So I don't know who they have writing for them, but at the end of the day, this is just a made-up story. So yeah, this would be a huge plot twist. Let me know if you agree with this down in the comment section down below. Maybe he could be the final boss on the final DLC map. So in terms of the unknown contact that Valentina is communicating with, I believe him to be none other than Eddie, aka Edward Richtofen. It makes complete sense that if she is bringing back a secret army of Nazis, that none other than Dr. Edward Richtofen would be involved. Besides, Eddie is even referenced in this page from Samantha's diary that we've gotten with Season 2 that reads, "Sometimes I find it hard to sleep, even though I look forward to it. When I dream, I see faces. Faces of people I care about and faces of people that don't care for me. Sometimes it's hard to distinguish between the two, but one face stands out from all of the others. A face of a child, a boy. He is lost, damaged. I want to help him, but somehow I feel that he is dangerous. Dreams are unreliable witnesses, as too am I. Sometimes I find it hard to sleep." I am sure that this is referencing Eddie, as we learn from prior intel from her time spent in the Dark Aether that she is starting to remember things from the old Aether storyline prior to the universe rebooting and her making her way to the new universe with Eddie. This means that she has likely not seen Eddie since entering this new universe and has completely forgotten about him, but is starting to remember him as a boy within Dr. Monty's house in Agatha, although he will have now grown up. Interestingly though, she says that the boy is lost and damaged. She wants to help him, but feels like he is dangerous. This leads me to believe that Eddie will in fact be evil and is working with the Nazis and Valentina. Or maybe he even has his own secret agenda or goal and is going to end up messing with everyone. After all, Ultimus Undead Richtofen just accepts death in the Dark Toten ending, and he has seen all of the events of the past, present, and future from being corrupted by the Dark Aether, so he knew this was coming. Maybe he actually had some sort of other plan, and that is what we are going to see unfold here. At the end of the day, within the Origins ending cutscene, this happens.
I told you before, their eyes should be blue.
It's my turn, Eddie. I can do whatever I want.
But you don't even know how to play properly. Girls don't know enough about zombies.
What's the choice of it, children? Make sure the windows are locked before you come down to the basement.
We'd better do what your dad says. I didn't even get my turn.
Tomorrow, Eddie. You get to make the rules. I promise.
No, Sammy. I haven't forgotten about you.
So maybe Eddie is finally going to get his opportunity to be in control like he always wanted. And maybe that is what we could see play out in the future. He is finally going to get his turn. And in the Die Maschine intro cutscene that just so happens to take place also in Berlin, as he said earlier, an unknown character is seen spying on Samantha. And I'm sure that with this information, it has to be Richtofen that is working with Valentina. He most likely reported back to Valentina soon after spying on her. I could could be wrong, of course, but it really does make sense, especially because part of this map will be Kino Der Toten, since a red marker is located on this TV screen in the main menu. And like I've said in countless other videos, when you align this red marker on Google Maps, it leads directly to the Berlin TV tower that just so happens to be situated right outside of the Kino Der Toten theatre. So yeah, it really does seem like Kino Der Toten will be a part of this map and will have a massive impact storyline wise. I believe that part of this map too will be directly where the Die Maschine intro cutscene takes place, and part of it will be exploring the city streets of Berlin that we explore in the Brick in the Wall campaign mission. It makes sense to be able to reuse assets. After all, part of Firebase C is from the campaign too, and we have 2 new calling cards with Firebase C. This first one shows the exact area where the telephone booth is located from the intro cutscene. However, we now see that Berlin is destroyed, you can see a bunch of stuff on fire in the background, and there appears to be Nazi zombies overrunning the city. And in this shot we see Samantha walking in a very similar way to in the Die Maschine intro, since she is now becoming an operator. So I'm interested to see how she communicates with Eddie on this map and its Easter egg. I am assuming that Eddie will likely become an operator too after this map, probably as a bundle in the store similar to Samantha. And in the campaign I believe we see this exact location too. It is slightly different, but this mission does take place years prior. However, I believe that the campaign is definitely our best interpretation of how this new zombies map may look. I really do think it's going to be a mixture of parts from the campaign, some new areas, and also Kino Der Toten. We also have this other calling card that shows Nazi zombies escaping from the Dark Aether. So yeah, this is the big plot twist. As to why Berlin is the location where the Nazis escape, well, I mean, it's obvious due to it being the focal point of not just the Cold War but also World War II. Maybe the Nazis could even escape from the Dark Aether directly in the Kino Der Toten theatre itself, due to it having such strong ties to the old Aether storyline, especially because it is the first instance where Ultimus teleported through time from Der Ries to Kino Der Toten. The bridge between the worlds, the Dark Aether and the regular world, is probably weaker here. There is also this piece of intel from Samantha in season 1, and she says the following.
Weaver's half Russian. I'm German. Who are you fighting in World War II? You sure you know who the enemy is now?
And this once again implies that Omega aren't the true enemy, but it is in fact the Nazis. There is also this new season 2 calling card that really resembles Dr. Monty in the Dark Aether. Potentially this is the accursed one, but I don't want to touch on that too much in this video because it's already really long, and I have no idea as to how this stuff will tie into the storyline to do with these Nazis hiding in the Dark Aether. But here is where it gets really weird. So we've just had a brand new Zombies Outbreak event added into Warzone, and the storyline of this is in 1984, the Soviet Vodyanoi ship left Rebirth Island with Nova 6 on board as cargo, and Stitch was the one who reactivated the facility. And we learn from the season 2 cutscene that Stitch was actually baiting us with Nova 6. He actually wasn't interested in Nova 6.
Good. Make them believe we care about the Nova 6 supply lines.
So I'm assuming his true goal was something to do with zombies, because for some weird reason the ship disappeared for 37 years and turned up in 2021 on the coast of Verdansk. But for some weird reason the crew on board were still alive, and they began contacting people at Verdansk. But by the time the ship crashed into the shore, for some weird reason all of the passengers became Nazi zombies, and the zombies in Warzone are literally the exact same Nazi zombies models as the ones featured on Kino Der Toten. So what I think has gone on here is, for some weird reason, the ship transported in time. That is why it disappeared for 37 years. In addition to Nova 6 being on the boat, there is a possibility that there was also Ethereum and or Dark Aether crystals present, or maybe they were even fused with the Nova 6. After all, Nova 6 doesn't create zombies, so how did the zombies come about? That could also explain as to how the boat traveled in time, because maybe having large quantities of Ethereum / Dark Aether crystals could cause it to travel in time. Considering we see a storm going around the boat, it would make sense that some sort of dimensional breach occurred that transported the boat in time. But why on earth are the zombies Nazis when this is a Soviet boat? That is what really doesn't make any sense here, but this is definitely tying into this storyline with this Berlin Zombies map. I just don't really know how, but we do know once again from the season 2 cutscene that Adler was kidnapped by Stitch and was taken taken to Verdansk.
Stitch, the rats are here. Adler's secure and headed to you in Verdansk.
So there is the possibility that on this ship was also Adler. And this could actually be the backstory as to why all of these Cold War operators are in Warzone. Maybe they all got here via this boat, as it teleported in time. But there appears to be an interrogation room on this Laos Apocalypse multiplayer map, which kind of suggests that maybe prior to Stitch sending Adler to Verdansk, he was interrogated and brainwashed in a similar fashion to Alex Mason with the numbers in Black Ops 1. As to how this is going to tie in with the storyline to do with all of these Nazis, I have no idea. Also, there is a nuke event that is happening inside of Warzone. It seems like over the next few weeks, the undead outbreak will spread from just being on the boat to the entirety of Verdansk. And when it's become too overrun, we are likely going to nuke the map, as all of the nuclear bunkers have started opening up. And I'm wondering if, maybe, before the nuke happens, a teleporter opens up and we then teleport back in time to the 1980s over to the Ural Mountains, and that sets up the stage for the new Ural Mountains Warzone map, which just so happens to be overrun by zombies, so there will probably be zombies roaming around this Ural Mountains Warzone map in a similar fashion to how zombies were roaming around in certain portions of the Blackout map. And then this could also be an explanation as to why the Modern Warfare operators will be in the 1980s in the Ural Mountains, because they may time travel during this nuke event. As to when this nuke event is happening, it's rumored to be around March or April. The Outbreak event happens to end on March 11th, but according to VG sources, we won't see the new map until April, so we will just have to wait and see, but the timing is irrelevant, it's happening very soon. In the Modern Warfare cutscene where Captain Price deactivates the nuke at the end, it says that Soap is coming inbound off the shore of Verdansk, which suggests that Soap would be on the boat too. But since the boat is from the 80s, it doesn't make sense for Soap to be on it, unless maybe he intercepted a signal from those on board and then boarded the ship to see what was going on. So yeah, the storyline is getting really confusing now, considering the Warzone storyline, the Zombies storyline, and the campaign storyline are all one big cinematic universe, and now they're introducing time travel and all of these different elements into the storyline. It's getting really confusing. And it is rumored and leaked that the next Call of Duty game releasing this year is apparently developed by Sledgehammer Games and will be a World War II game, but it is rumored that part of the game will be set in the 1950s, so it may be an alternative reality World War II game where for some weird reason the war is happening during the 50s, and I'm wondering if the Nazis are returning. This game might have something to do with it, because thanks to Warzone, everything is now connected, and this new World War II game that is going to release will somehow tie into Warzone. So I'm really wondering if all of this stuff that is happening with zombies is going to tie into this next Call of Duty game. It's getting really hard to track everything that is going on now since everything is connected. It's just so weird to think about. As I said, I don't really know as to why there are Nazis on this boat when it is literally a Soviet ship, so I'm sure we're going to find out in the future, but this confirms pretty much everything that I have been talking about. Also, the zombies' eyes are white in Warzone. Maybe this suggests that no one is in control of them. There is also a bunch of intel that implies that the director of both Requiem and Omega are up to no good. I'm not exactly sure as to what's going on here or what their agenda is. There are even some people theorizing that they could in fact be the same person and they're playing Omega and Requiem like pawns similar to Valentina, but I don't really know. When are we likely to see this Berlin map? Well, we have no confirmation of a release date thus far, and according to the Season 2 Battle Pass end date, Season 3 is scheduled to launch on April the 15th. So I would say that we could see it near the end of Season 2, similar to how Firebase C released near the end of Season 1, but that just seems way too soon. Previously, we discussed how the Firebase C event on PlayStation 4 ends near the beginning of April, potentially hinting at the release date, but I think we can cross that off now since Season 3 begins soon after. Now, if Outbreak is getting a main Easter egg with Season 3, they probably won't introduce a new map at the same time they add this Easter egg, right? So we will probably see the Easter egg in Outbreak first with the launch of Season 3 to continue the story leading up to the Berlin map. So maybe we will see the Berlin map near the end of Season 3 with Season 3 Reloaded, or potentially even with Season 4, as this was leaked to be within Season 4 before launch. I don't know though, as I said, nothing is confirmed and the release dates are probably not exactly set in stone. Let me know in the comment section down below, when do you think think we're going to be seeing this Berlin Zombies map. So yeah, that's pretty much everything that I wanted to talk about within today's video. There is a lot of information to take in. Valentina is going against Omega to meet a secret operator in Berlin that I believe to be this person seen in the Die Maschine intro, and I believe them to be Richtofen. It seems like Richtofen is in fact evil according to that piece of Samantha intel, and on this Berlin map, it seems like Valentina will unleash the Nazis on the map with the help of Richtofen, due to the new technology that she has garnered from experimenting at the Ural Mountains. I guess this is an effort for the Nazis to take over the world, so there may be a bunch of other locations that she is going to target to unleash more undead Nazi hordes. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on this down in the comment section down below as always. Anyways, thank you for watching the video, make sure to subscribe if you're around here for the latest and greatest Call of Duty news and information. So anyways, thank you for watching, and bye.